Welcome back to the channel. Now today I have a Samyang 24mm f1.8 autofocus lens for review. Now, as I was saying in the last video with the Sony 24mm, I was comparing the size of the two lenses. There's the size difference between the two lenses with the lens, both caps on them. And as for the diameter, the Sony is just slightly larger in diameter, but not much. But in terms of length, the Samyang is a little bit longer, but then again it is a little bit wider, not in terms of focal length, but the aperture does open up a bit wider. Now this weighs in at 230 grams, so it's a little bit heavier than the Sony, and 75 mils in length. That does not include the lens caps, the lens cap or the body cap. So 75 mils from there to there. So if you take the lens hood and the lens cap off, it's not very long at all. Still longer than the Sony, and it is 64 millimeters in diameter, which I think the Sony was 68. So it is a little bit slimmer, but a little bit longer. And I think it looks quite cool with that red ring around there. Now this is one of Samyang's what they call tiny series. They've got a range of lenses from I think 18mm through to 75mm, I believe. All very small compact primes at 2.8 or 1.8 and the various different sizes. But I purchased this one mainly because of the f1.8 aperture on it, and the fact that it's advertised as like an Astro lens. Now what I mean by an Astro lens is, I should put it onto my A7C, and we have a function button here. Now this function button, when you turn the camera on and hold this button down, you'll see this little light here turn on. So if I hold that down, turn the camera on, you see the light changes from red to green. Now at green, lens is focused at infinity. So that's what I mean by an Astro lens. It focuses at infinity when that is green. Now you can change that, as you can see now, at infinity and not. So it's very handy in the dark if you're trying to focus on infinity for the stars, and you can't see any, like some of them have a focus scale on them, but at night, you know, in the pitch black, having that little light there is just going to be a big bonus, so you know exactly when you've hit infinity. So that's a great little feature. This has a very smooth focus ring. It's a bit more heavily damped than the Sony. The Sony is very smooth turning. This one here has got a little bit more resistance to it. It has a custom switch on it, mode 1 and mode 2, and I believe custom mode 1 is autofocus, mode 2 is manual focus at the moment. As for any other functions you can program it, I'm not sure because I've only just got the lens. Now on the lens we have AF 24/1.8 FE, so it's for full frame cameras, but you can still mount it on the Sony APS-C bodies, which will give an equivalent, like the Sony, put that on the APS-C cameras, so you give you an equivalent of 36mm. As for the build quality, it feels more plasticky. Like you can hear that feels plasticky. But in saying that, with an aperture of f1.8, if it was made out of metal, I'd expect it to be a bit heavier anyway. So there's a little rubber seal gasket around the outside of this lens as well, and I do believe this is weather sealed, but correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, as in terms of the build quality, I think the Sony has a step over this in terms of the build quality. It's not quite up there with the Sony, but then again, at $775 New Zealand, it's quite a bit cheaper than the Sony, which is $1,149. So you're looking at about $400 or so difference in the price of these two lenses. So you can't expect the cheaper lens to be the same build quality for $400 less. It'd be nice if it was, but it's not going to happen in the real world. But in saying that, it doesn't feel really cheap either. I mean, I've had some cheap lenses in the past, and yes, they do feel very cheap. But this seems to be pretty well made, other than the fact that the body is plastic. Has a metal lens mount, which is good. It's always a good bonus. And some of the cheap lenses, especially kit lenses, sometimes have a plastic mount, which, yeah, I don't really like. But now on the front of the lens, we have, start from there, we have AF24/1.8 FE, it's for Sony autofocus. We have a 58mm filter diameter, and we have 0.19 of a meter close focusing distance, or 0.62 of a foot. So you can get reasonably close with a wide angle lens. The same with the Sony 24mm lens. You can get fairly close to objects. Now up next, I'm going to show you some image samples and some video clips with this lens, and you can see what the quality is like. So I'll roll those clips and images now and see what you think. Right, I think those image samples look very good. I think the sharpness of the lens is excellent. Like I've said in previous video about the Sony, I don't do test charts. I do my images outside in the real world and real life situations, so that you got a better feel for what the lens is capable of, rather than just a test chart with test images and, you know, diagrams and so forth that they have on these test charts. I'm more of how does it really work in day-to-day photo taking, video making. Now the video quality, I think the autofocus works pretty good on this. Not quite to the same level as the Sony, but then again, it's not a native lens. I mean, meaning it's not made by Sony. So, but in saying that, it still performs very, very well. I'm quite happy with the way it operates and the image quality and the video quality coming out from this lens. So, pros and cons of this lens. Now, pros, it is fairly lightweight, although not as lightweight as the Sony, but that being an f2.8 and this being an f1.8, it's always going to be a little bit heavier. As you enlarge that aperture, it's going to get more glass in it, so it's going to be obviously heavier. It's got very good image quality and it's great for Astro work. Cons, it would be nice if it had a dedicated aperture ring on it like the Sony, but then again, hey, it's about $400 cheaper than the Sony, so if you put an aperture ring on it, it's going to increase that cost. So it would get up closer to what the Sony offers, but it certainly does represent good value for money in my opinion. So yeah, for the Sony E Mount system, these small lenses, they're absolutely brilliant. You can fit more in your bag, carry less weight, and it's not going to break your back. And this is part of the reason why we've switched over from Nikon to Sony for a lot of these small, light little prime lenses. Like here we have a Samyang 12mm for the crop sensor camera, and it's not any bigger, it's smaller than this 24mm. This is one I'll be doing a video of in future as well. If you're on an even tighter budget and you want a cheaper option than this, there is a Tamron 24mm f2.8 for $479 New Zealand, so that's an even better value in terms of a wide angle lens. And Samyang also make a 24mm f2.8 lens in their tiny series as well, and that is even smaller at 37mm long, so it'll only be about that sort of length, and 62mm in diameter and 120 grams in weight. So if you want something smaller and lighter than that, f2.8 24mm at 120 grams, it's a featherweight. It's like you're not even going to feel it. Put it in your pocket, carry it around with you, slap it on the camera. Great little series of lenses actually. I'm looking forward to getting a few more of these Samyang lenses and testing them out as well. The final thoughts, and would I recommend it? Final thoughts are, I think it's a great little lens. Gives very good autofocus performance and image quality, and yeah, it's nicely balanced on the A7C. And yes, would I recommend it? Definitely. If you want a fast 24mm prime lens, definitely check out the Samyang 24mm f1.8. Now coming up in the next video, I shall be testing this little Sigma 45mm f2.8 lens, and as you can see, that is really small and compact as well. So hope you tune in next time to see the full review of that lens, and hope you like this short little video, and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.